class, before we will start our lesson for this day, let us pray first. So everybody stand up. Let's make sign of the cross, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Do not bring us to the test, and deliver us from evil. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good morning, class. So please be seated. So let us start our lesson. I have here a photo. This is a man. He is holding a microphone. There's a TV there with an acronym. So I want you to describe what is or who is in the picture. So what is the role of the man in our society, or what is his job? The man is a reporter. It's obvious he's holding a microphone. He is a reporter. So reporter reports an event or an happenings or an utterance of someone or important people. So they create stories and breaking news through different channels such as radio or television and many more. Are you fond of creating stories or gossiping with friends about celebrities? If yes, then you need to know what is direct speech and indirect speech. Indirect speech is also known as recorded speech. So let us learn about direct speech and indirect speech today. So imagine yourself, you are with your friends in the playground. This is you and your friend Peter. Suddenly Peter said, "I am hungry." That is an example of a direct speech. It is an exact utterance of someone. So Peter left to find food. Later, your friend Clark came, asking, "Where is Peter?" Then you said, "He left to find food." Then Clark asked, "Why?" Then you replied, "Peter said that he was hungry." Then that is now the example of indirect speech. It reports that what is said by someone in the past. So let us learn about direct speech and indirect speech. We have here our definition of direct speech. It is also known as quoted speech. Consists of words or phrases that are taken directly from the sources. So that is the definition of direct speech. Let us have now the definition of indirect speech. Indirect speech. It is also known as reported speech. It is when words or phrases are reported in our own words. That is the definition of indirect speech. Please open your book to page 348. Get your book now and open your book to page 348. We have here direct and indirect discourse. Knowing that Gary was a country boy, Ramon worried about Gary's first night in a noisy city like Manila. Read this conversation that took place the following morning. So in case you don't have book with you, I have here, I've written it in a visual aid. So let us read together. "I'm afraid you did not sleep well last night," Ramon greeted his friend. "I heard you tossing in bed every time I woke up during the night." "On the contrary," Gary said, "I slept very well. The noises in the street below woke me." "I thought they kept you awake." "Oh no, I am used to hearing noises. the chirping of birds, and all sorts of noises in the country. Gary explained. He told Ramon that his tossing in bed was one sure sign he was sleeping soundly. You should worry if I did not move in my sleep, Ramon. Gary added. What would that mean? Ramon asked, puzzled. That I was too wide awake to move at all, Gary answered, smiling. So let's answer the following questions. Number 1. What are Ramon's exact words when he greeted Gary? So the exact words of Ramon when he greeted Gary, that is, I am afraid you did not sleep well last night. That is the exact words he uttered. What punctuation marks enclose these exact words? So what do you call this punctuation marks here? That is a quotation marks. Number 3. What punctuation mark separates the exact words of Ramon from the rest of the sentence? So what it is the comma. On the contrary, it separates Gary said, comma. Last night, I'm afraid you did not sleep well last night, comma, it separates to Ramon greeted his friend. That is, comma. So now, let us discuss So we have here punctuation and paragraphing of conversation. So number 1, quotation marks are used to enclose the exact words of a speaker. So we have here examples, right? It's quotation marks. Number 2, the first word of direct quotations begin with a capital letter. So we can observe here I is capitalized. This that is O is capitalized. That is the beginning of the quotation. A comma or commas separate the exact words of the speaker from the rest of the sentence. I've already told you about this a while ago. That is example of the comma. It separates the sentence, the part of the sentence, I'm afraid you did not sleep well last night, from Ramon greeted his friend. Number 4, the comma, the period, or the question mark comes before the quotation marks. So you can imagine here the period comes before the quotation mark. That is the rule. Next, when a quotation ends with a question mark or an exclamatory point, a comma is not used. So we have here an example. What would that mean? You can observe that there is no comma here because there is a question mark, or if there's an exclamatory point. So you will not put a comma. Enclose the sentences of an unbroken quotation within one pair of quotation marks. Number 7, start a new paragraph for every change of speaker. So you can observe here, this is Ramon speaking here in this paragraph. Then when it's already the turn of Gary, another paragraph learn. Because that is the rule. Number 7, start a new paragraph for every change of speaker. Do you understand? Any questions? You can raise your hand if you have questions. So let us answer this exercise together. Exercise number 2. You have to punctuate the following quotations. Punctuating. Let us practice punctuating. Let's have our pen. We have here number 1. Let's do this together. There's the postman, said Gary. Maybe there's a letter from Pa and Ma in New York. But where we'll put our quotations, our punctuation, so we will put quotation marks here at the beginning of the sentence. Then there's the postman. We will separate it with a comma. Comma here. Then enclosed with a quotation mark. There is the postman, said Gary. Then another quotation mark. Maybe there's a letter from Pa and Ma in New York. We'll enclose it with a quotation mark. So number 2, Ramon asked, Gary, isn't it difficult to walk in the snow? So we will put here a comma that will separate the part Ramon asked from Gary, isn't it difficult to walk in the snow? We will put a quotation marks here, quotation marks at the end because the question comes before the quotation mark. So there is the quotation marks. Number 3, Golly exclaimed, Jose, isn't this the perfect day for an outing? We'll separate it with a comma. We'll put a comma here. Do you understand? Were you able to follow? Let's put here quotation marks at the beginning of the quotation. Then at the end, we'll put quotation marks. Golly exclaimed, Jose, isn't this a perfect day for an outing? Number 4, thanks a lot, Gary replied the boys. We shall look forward to that day. So we will put the quotation mark here at the beginning. Thanks a lot. Then comma. Gary replied the boys. Then we'll put comma here. And we will put our punctuation at the end of the sentence. That is, thanks a lot, Gary replied the boys. We shall look forward to that day. Number 5, Mr. Mercado said, Gary is an excellent ambassador of goodwill from the United States. So where we'll put a punctuation or quotation marks? At the beginning of Mr. Mercado said, comma. Then we will put a quotation mark at the beginning. Gary is an excellent ambassador of goodwill from the United States. So we will put quotation marks at the end of the sentence. Now, were you able to follow? Now we will discuss how to transform direct speech to indirect speech. So according to Lucy Consular, there are 3 steps that you need to consider when transforming a direct speech to indirect speech. So what are those? Those are first step, identify the verb. Second, identify the verb tense. Then third, one step back. So what did you mean by one step back? So let's have some examples. We have here a sentence. Carl hates feathers, Joy said. So that is our direct speech. So first step, identify the verb in the sentence. So what is the verb in the sentence? It is hates. That is our verb, hates. So second step, what is the verb tense? The tense of the verb hates. That is simple present. Hates is simple present. So the third step, one step back. What do you think is the one step back of simple present? It is simple present. Is it present continuous? Is it future? What is it? It is simple past. So our indirect speech will be, Joy said that Carl hated feathers. So it will be hated. We will put here hated. We have here another example. They are playing badminton. Cherry told us. So our indirect speech will be, first step, identify the verb. So be careful in this sentence because there are two parts. The verb have two parts. It is, our verb here is are playing. That is our verb. The second step, identify the verb tense. It is past, present, future. It is present continuous. Are playing is present continuous. The third step, one step back. So what do you think is the one step back of present continuous? It is past continuous. So, what is the past continuous of are playing? It is were playing. So our indirect speech now is Cherry told us that they were playing badminton. We have here note. Note, in statements when the reporting verb is in the present, future, or present perfect tense, then there's no change of tense in the verbs go dead. So what do you mean by this? So for example, Gary says, I enjoy reading your local publication. It is Gary says. It is not said. It is present. So we will discuss when the reporting word is in the past tense. When the reporting word is in the past tense. Number 1, the present tense becomes past in the indirect discourse. For example, direct speech. I am tired, Gary said. So we will transform this to indirect speech. It will become Gary said that he was tired. The present tense becomes past in the indirect discourse. So I'm tired becomes was tired. Number 2, the present continuous or progressive tense becomes past continuous in the indirect speech. We have indirect speech. I am enjoying myself, Gary assured him. If you will transform it to indirect speech, it will become Gary assured him that he was enjoying himself. From present continuous to past continuous in the indirect speech. We have here I'm enjoying, it will become was enjoying. Number 3, the past tense becomes past perfect in the indirect speech. We have here example, direct speech. We made the longest stopover in Tokyo. Gary narrated. In direct speech, it will become Gary narrated that they had made the longest stopover in Tokyo. So the past tense becomes past perfect in indirect speech. Made become had made. Number 4, the future tense becomes conditional in the indirect speech. We have here example. For example, we have here direct speech. I'll visit with you again, he promised. It will become conditional in indirect speech. He promised that he would visit with me again. Number 5, the present perfect tense becomes past perfect in the indirect speech. For example, direct speech, I have come, he said. In direct speech, it will become, he said that he had come. Present perfect tense becomes past perfect in indirect speech. Have come becomes had come. So this time we need to answer 5-item test to test your understanding of our lesson for today. The direction is change the following direct speech to indirect speech. I will give you 5 minutes for this. Your time starts now. Just raise your hands if you are done answering so that we will check afterwards. Are you all done? Let us check now your papers. Oh, you're already done. Okay. Exchange papers with your seatmate. We have here the answers. Number 1, she said that she was reading a book. Number 2, eyes on the papers you're checking. He said that he was happy. Number 3, she said that Megan had arrived on Tuesday. Number 4, they said that they had been living in Paris. And number 5, last number, Cherry said that she likes to paint. Count the number of scores and pass the papers to the front. I'll be collecting those. I will be the one to... You still need to answer one activity. So okay, get your book, turn to page 350. We have here punctuate and paragraph the following conversation. So this is just easy, so I will give you 5 minutes for this. Is it okay? Okay. Punctuate. What we did in the first lesson, like putting quotation marks, comma, period, and always remember the rule that we have discussed. At beginning of the sentence, capitalized. Okay, take your time. Just raise your hands if you're all done. Oh, you're all done? Okay, pass your papers. I'll be the one to check those. For your assignment, turn to page 356 to 357. You can see there, English, a universal language. So what you need to do is change the conversation to indirect speech. That will be the end of our lesson for this day because we're running out of time. Always remember to learn how to transform direct speech to indirect speech because it is very important because we are conversing every day. We are talking with our friends about something or about gossiping about celebrities or other things that are important to us, or we are sharing our feelings to others, and we are also fond of narrating stories. So it is important to know how to transform direct speech to indirect speech. So next meeting we will discuss more, we'll go deeper. So we're not yet done. This is still the basic. We are still the topmost. There is still, we'll go deeper. So there are many things that you need to consider when transforming direct speech to indirect speech. Okay? That would be all. Thank you for listening. Goodbye. See you tomorrow.